Damon Fryer, a popular YouTuber and supercar enthusiast, was pulled over by the police in Beverly Hills, California in the month of May 2018. This meeting became noteworthy as a result of the ensuing activities and exchanges that took place between Fryer and the officer after it took place. What all took place? Let's investigate this matter further.
You have your registration and insurance?
Yeah.
During the encounter, the Beverly Hills police officer initiated the interaction by requesting Damon Fryer's driver's license, registration, and insurance. This is a standard procedure during traffic stops to verify the legality and validity of a driver's documents.
I live here, I give you Canadian driver's
So that's
license.
exactly what I'm trying to figure out. You're giving me smart answers, but I'm trying to get to the bottom of something.
It's not a smart answer. You're
is.
not customs. I don't need to explain to you why I'm here.
Okay, so you need a California driver's license to drive in California.
Fryer complied with the officer's request and handed over his driver's license, registration, and insurance information.
International driver's license?
Excuse me?
You have your international driver's license?
You're a cop. You should know I don't need that. I'm a Canadian citizen. You have a treaty with us. I'm going to exit the vehicle to get my passport.
During the interaction, the officer raised questions about Damon Fryer's presence in California and his Canadian driver's license. The officer's questioning aimed to determine whether Fryer was a resident of California or merely a visitor.
What were you about to say?
Stop saying you just ran.
I didn't run a stop sign.
Just saw you.
Which one?
Lamita, sit down.
Which one?
I just told you. You're so busy asking me questions. You're not listening to my answers. I said the one on Lamitas.
I didn't run any stop sign. I have everything on camera.
Fryer explained that he was a Canadian citizen and represented his Canadian driver's license as proof of his driving credentials. He asserted that as a non-resident, he was not obligated to obtain a California driver's license and that his Canadian license was sufficient for driving legally in the state.
I said the one on Lamitas.
I didn't run any stop sign. I have everything on camera.
Okay, that's fine. So do I.
Pardon?
I said so do I.
Sure.
Stay in the car, don't get out, man.
No, I won't. Wow. International driver's license.
Fryer explained he didn't need a California driver's license as a Canadian citizen and showed his passport. The officer insisted that Fryer needed a California driver's license and an international driver's license, which Fryer disputed, and pointed out that Canada and the United States have a treaty in place that allows Canadian drivers to operate vehicles in the U.S. without the need for an international driver's license. He argued that his Canadian driver's license, being a valid and recognized document, provided the necessary authorization for him to drive in California, and he moved out of his car.
How you doing?
Great, how are you?
Awesome, man. I'm allowed to film you.
I didn't say you weren't.
I don't know why you're shining the light on my camera then.
I'm just making sure I can see inside the car.
And is 11 out on the flippy?
Well, you don't need to do that by following the
You're
camera.
very defensive, sir. Why is that?
Because you pull me over and you don't know what for.
The other officer was standing at the other door and asked Fryer how he was doing, to which Fryer replied nicely that he was doing amazing. Fryer also mentioned that he is filming the officers and they can't stop that, to which the officer said he was not even saying anything to that, but was flashing the flashlight in front of the camera so that the officer's face was not visible.
I told you what for. Look at your camera. You'll be able to see what for.
I didn't do anything though. You lied about the stop sign,
I didn't
and you
lie.
don't understand what exhaust is on my car. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
The officer asked why the guy looked so defensive, to which Fryer replied that he has been pulled over for nothing, to which the police said check your camera to see what you have done, where Fryer said it's nothing there. Also accused the police officer of lying about the stop sign as there weren't any and there's no exhaust in his car.
Modified exhaust, right? One.
Yeah.
You're not having a California driver's license.
I don't need a California driver's license.
So can you sign here, please?
And if I don't?
I have to take you to jail.
Really?
Yeah.
The officer proceeded to issue citations to Damon Fryer for 2 alleged violations: the absence of a California driver's license and the presence of a modified exhaust on his car. These citations mark the culmination of the interaction between Fryer and the officer, reflecting their differing perspectives on compliance with the law. Regarding the first citation, the officer asserted that Fryer was required to possess a valid driver's license issued by the state of California in order to legally operate a motor vehicle within its jurisdiction. Fryer refused to sign the paper which the officer was asking for, to which the police said he'll be behind bars because of that.
Is that part of the, like, not having a driver's license thing too?
California. So like I said, it's not an admission of guilt. just promising you'll take care of the citation. So with that being said, your car is subject to tow.
What?
Why? Because you're driving your own license in California.
I can do that.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I can. I have a Canadian driver's license. It's not illegal to drive here with that.
The moment Damon Fryer put his signature on the document, the police informed him that his vehicle would be impounded since he did not possess the appropriate license for the state of California. In addition to issuing citations for Damon Fryer for not having a California driver's license and for the modified exhaust on his car, the officer took his response to a more concerning level. The officer, perhaps frustrated by the disagreement and Fryer's persistence in his stance, resorted to making a threat regarding Fryer's vehicle. In a display of authority, the officer went as far as to threaten Fryer with the possibility of having his car towed if he was spotted driving it again. Typically, the decision to tow a vehicle is contingent upon scientific circumstances, such as when the vehicle poses a safety hazard, is involved in criminal activity, or when it is in violation of parking regulations. In this case, the officer's threat appeared to be an inappropriate escalation of their authority, as it was not supported by the violations Fryer had been cited for. Fryer, being aware of his rights as a motorist, could have questioned the officer's ability to carry out such a threat. If Fryer believed the officer's action to be unjustified, he could have requested clarification or brought attention to the officer's lack of legal grounds to tow his car. Feeling aggrieved and determined to address the situation, he left his car behind and sought advice from his friends and other people he trusted. Discussing the incident with his friends and seeking their input provided Fryer with valuable perspectives and guidance.
So
Just playing hardball. It's all good, dude.
Okay, so like I said, if I see you again, I will tow your car, sir.
Yeah.
Okay? You have yourself a good night.
Yeah, you too, man.
Thank you.
Empowered by the advice he received, Fryer made the decision to confront the issue head-on. Arriving at the police station, Fryer took the initiative to speak with someone in authority about the unjust threat made by the officer.
Okay, so tell me,
I'm gonna record it. That's
it's already recorded.
No,
24/7.
for myself.
Okay,
Thanks.
do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So what documentation do you have, like as far as your ID or license or?
Fryer decided to take action and file a complaint against the officer. Recognizing that he had been subjected to an unjustified threat and concerned about the officer's abuse of power, Fryer sought to hold the officer accountable for their actions. After leaving the police station without any further problems, Fryer proceeded to the relevant authorities in order to formally lodge his complaint.
A foreign issued driver's license.
I'm
You
not a
can drive.
resident.
No, I'm just saying
Oh,
they
okay.
can drive,
All right,
right?
yeah.
So you got a citation for something you should not have received.
Correct.
That's item one.
And then the threat to take my vehicle away from me based on that citation, which doesn't exist.
Okay, so the good news is that did not happen. You have your car.
The officer's behavior during the encounter with Damon Fryer revealed a troubling lack of understanding regarding license requirements and an improper display of authority. In addition to issuing citations for not having a California driver's license and a modified exhaust on Fryer's car, the officer went further and threatened actions that he did not possess the illegal authority to carry out. He got an F for that.
The international, Canadian, US driving, whatever the legal jargon is, that I can drive on this license. And I'm not to have my vehicle towed if he sees me around Beverly Hills again.
Okay.
Firstly, the officer's lack of understanding regarding license requirements became apparent when he insisted that Fryer needed both a California driver's license and an international one.
I need your ID, please, so I could write you a summons.
You will be willing to write me a summons?
Yes.
Outstanding.
I need your ID also, please, sir. Okay, I'm gonna place you under arrest then.
You're not placing me under arrest.
Come
You
here.
have no right to ask.
Come here. All right, taser. Got it. Go.
In the incident, a single police officer approached a protester who was presumably participating in a demonstration or gathering. The officer initiated contact with the protester and specifically asked them to provide their identification. The purpose behind this request was to issue a legal notice, commonly known as a summons. In the unfolding incident, a second police officer joined the scene where the initial officer was interacting with the protester.
On public property, Jim. What the f is wrong with you?
When he's in front of the business, yelling f everybody.
You see this sign? It says stop. You want to know why? Because cops like you keep...
And he refused to give me his ID. which he's required to do.
The second officer decided to employ a taser, a non-lethal weapon that delivers an electric shock as a means of subduing or controlling the protester. However, before the second officer could use the taser on the protester ran away. The veteran officer engaged in a conversation with the officer who wanted to use the taser, informing them that the protester had not committed trespassing, challenging the actions of the rogue cop. It was alleged that the officers tampered with the footage from their body cameras, potentially erasing audio recordings. This practice of disabling or manipulating body cameras has been a long-standing issue with some police officers seeking to avoid accountability. The cop involved in the incident has a troubling history with 5 civilian complaints against him. One of the complaints accused him of using excessive force on a man experiencing a diabetic shock, while another involved excessive force on a veteran with PTSD who tragically died shortly after the violent arrest. Despite these complaints, the officer has received continued support from the police unions and fellow officers, raising questions about why his actions are defended and his tenure as a cop is supported. Now let's move to another video. In the incident captured on video, Aramis Ayala, the first black state attorney elected in Florida, was pulled over by Orlando police officers.
What agency you with?
I'm the state attorney.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Your tag didn't come back. Never seen that before. I'm sorry? Yeah. We're good now.
So it was...
We ran the tag. I've never seen it before. A Florida tag. It's never come back to anything before. So that's the reason for this.
The officer stated that they initiated the stop because Ayala's license plate did not yield any information and because her car had a dark window tint.
What was the tag run for?
Oh, we run tags all the time, whether it's at traffic lights and that sort of stuff. That's how we figure out if, cars are stolen and that sort of thing. Also, the windows were really dark. I don't have a tint measurer, but...
Upon being stopped, Ayala questioned the officers about the reason for pulling her over. The officers responded by explaining they regularly run license plate tags to check for stolen vehicles and other violations. They also mentioned that the dark window tint was another reason for the stop.
What's your employee number? 157. Ready? There you are.
The incident gained national attention and sparked outrage with some individuals alleged racial profiling. Ayala in a statement emphasized that she had not violated any laws and her license plate was properly registered. She also pointed out that the window tint was not in violation of Florida law. Now, let's move to another video.
So I'm in Beverly Hills right now and I'm getting searched for shopping at the store I work for and just being black.
So Leal Benberry, the VP of Versace Footwear, was shopping in Beverly Hills, California when he was stopped and searched by police officers.
You're making it completely different.
Yeah, I mean, guys,
you're making it completely
so
different.
So you checked my ID? What's going on? Do I have anything on my record?
No, you're good to go.
I'm good to go. That's what I thought. I've just been GPSing, trying to figure out where I'm going.
Okay. Do you have any ID on you by chance, man? Without reaching into your pockets, you don't have any weapons or anything, right?
I don't. I'm like super nervous.
I'm just gonna check to make sure you don't have any weapons if you don't mind, okay? Face that way real quick. Put your hands behind your back, palms together like you're praying. Awesome, thank you. Spread your feet. Cool, man. Don't wanna mess up those shoes, those are pretty nice. You said I can search you, right?
You do whatever.
Cool, man.
This is embarrassing, to be frank.
Well, what we like to do, like when we stop someone, we just, to make sure you don't have any weapons or anything, we just like to...
feels a little excessive. What's unfortunate is like I literally designed the shoes that are in this bag and I'm being like searched for. Really? Yeah, I do.
Well, that's why I'm not, that's why, like I said, man, you're not in handcuffs or anything, I'm just talking to you right now, okay?
I do, but I'm just walking down the street, that's a little ridiculous.
Benberry expressed his frustration and questioned the necessity of the search, stating that being black was likely the reason for his treatment.
Just trying to run in real quick, partner, make sure everything checks out.
I have to record this because I just don't feel comfortable with that.
Well, just because right now you are being detained, just because we're talking to you,
okay.
And we don't know, not saying that you would do this, but people have called and they have friends come and then it comes an officer safety
I'm literally
issue.
just going to record right now. That's all I'm doing. You see it's recording and that's all I'm doing because I feel, you hear it in my voice, I'm uncomfortable, I'm nervous. You understand the climate that we're in?
No, I understand. Is there anything I can do to make you feel more comfortable?
Not
Like you're not in handcuffs or anything,
not
right?
Not really. Like your boys are pulling up, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not making any like fast movements, but this is uncomfortable for me. Huh?
Are we making any kind of...
No, but this is uncomfortable for me. I just want to get to my car, so I'm just going to hit record for you.
Yeah, hey, whatever you want to do, sir. But
okay.
Like I said, you understand why we stopped you, correct? And you admitted to jaywalking?
So I'm in Beverly Hills right now.
So You can't jaywalk, correct? You
Understood, yeah. Can I have my stuff back, please?
But you see how you just switched that complete narrative?
Nah.
You were talking to us
I know
saying,
how
yeah,
you
you
guys
can
saw it.
search
Am
me.
I good to go?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, you guys have a good
Next time, don't change the narrative like that, though.
He mentioned a previous incident of being stopped for jaywalking, indicating that such experiences were not isolated for him. Benberry recorded the encounter, expressing his discomfort and emphasizing that he was simply walking down the street. Donatella Versace, the sister of Versace's founder, reposted the video on her Instagram, expressing her outrage at the incident and condemning the behavior of the officers as unacceptable.
And police officers sure are law enforcement officials who are tasked with maintaining public order, protecting individuals and property, and preventing and investigating crime. However, there have been instances where police officers have abused their power, used excessive force, and violated people's rights, particularly those from marginalized communities.
Oh, somebody help me.
These actions can lead to distrust and fear of law enforcement, exacerbating already strained relationships between the police and the communities they serve. But can they exploit such power? What are the legal penalties if they do so? And if the police abuse his here power, would they be treated differently? Stick around as we take a closer look at two of the most brutal cases that could make us think of cops as judicial pillars twice. Our first case kicks off with Sergeant Mario Cardona versus Daniel Garza. Daniel Garza was helpless after being thrown and pinned to the ground. Officer Mario Cardona, who Garza had known for years, was on the verge of breaking his wrist. Garza recalled, "I was trying to be a man and trying to hold in the pain, but man, that wrist lock hurts." He's just bending it and bending it. But what compelled Cardona to go so far? It turns out that his actions were motivated by rage toward Garza, whom he accuses of attempting to kidnap his stepdaughter. Are cops bestowed such authority? Seems that the two men had quite the history, with Garza having previously dated Cardona's stepdaughter, Naomi Villanueva. The relationship had hit rock bottom, with Villanueva moving out of her parents' house to live with a friend. In May 2015, Garza allegedly took Villanueva without her consent from her friend's house and brought her to her parents' house in Whittier, where Cardona lived across the street. Cardona saw Garza doing pilots in his yard and ordered him to come down to the street. As soon as Garza came down, Cardona began his assault. According to Garza, he was not the aggressor, and a neighbor who witnessed the incident testified in Garza's favor. The sheriff deputies who arrived at the scene noticed redness on Garza's face, bruises and abrasions to his knees, and redness on his wrists. Garza filed a complaint against Cardona, which led to a federal lawsuit against Cardona, Chief Beck, and the city of Los Angeles. Garza alleged false arrest, unreasonable search and seizure, excessive force, assault and battery, negligence, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. A video of the incident filmed by one of Garza's neighbors was also presented at the trial. They had made up a story of what had happened to make him look like a hero and me look like a criminal, says Daniel Garza. The U.S. District Judge Stephen V. Wilson presided over the hearing where the former Deputy City Attorney, Michael Amarian, spoke in defense of the city. The jury found Cardona to be acting with malice as an off-duty officer, and on June 26, 2017, they ordered him to pay Garza $210,000 in damages. On top of that, the court added another $664,000 in attorney's fees and $26,000 for post-trial costs. The City of Law refused to take responsibility for Cardona's actions and even refused to indemnify the officer, forcing him to pay for the charges out of his pocket. Jim DeSimone, Garza's attorney, claims, "This is the problem with the left. This is why people are out on the street." The case is a clear example of police officers using excessive force against individuals and getting away with it. In this case, however, Garza was able to stand up to the authorities who violated his rights, and he was able to win his lawsuit against Cardona. The jury's decision to find Cardona guilty of acting with malice sends a strong message that law enforcement officers cannot get away with using excessive force against citizens. It is worth noting that this case also highlights the importance of civilians being aware of their rights and standing up to law enforcement officers when they feel their rights have been violated. Garza's decision to file a complaint and a lawsuit against Cardona shows that individuals can take action against police brutality and excessive force. As more and more people become aware of their rights and are willing to take action, law enforcement officers will be held accountable for their actions, and if you sue a cop in LAA for excessive force, you are in for a wild ride. However, Garza's decision to stand up to Cardona and the authorities who violated his rights resulted in a victory for him, sending a strong message that law enforcement officers cannot get away with using excessive force against citizens. The case of Harold Hill is just a perfect example of how our justice system can go wrong. From a gruesome rape and murder to a wrongful conviction, this case definitely ticks all the boxes. So, what underwent? First off, we have the detectives who were assigned to the case, Kenneth Bordeaux and John Halloran, the so-called beacons of justice. They were the ones who got the confession out of Peter Williams, who was later found to be in jail at the time of the crime. So, how did they churn out a false confession of someone who wasn't even there? Hill's confession is also questionable, as he claims that he was physically and mentally abused until he confessed to crimes he didn't commit. Is this the kind of behavior we expect from our law enforcement officers? Moving on to the trial itself. Hill was only 16 years old when the crime was committed, but was tried as an adult at the age of 31. This is an interesting move from the prosecution, considering that neither of the defendants had a criminal record prior to the incident. The jury found Hill and Young guilty of murder, and they were sentenced to life without parole. But 13 long years later, DNA tests revealed that the hair found at the crime scene and the cellular materials under Kathy Morgan's fingernails didn't match either of the defendants. Think of the agony Hill went through for something he didn't do. What made Hill hold on to his life is still astonishing. Despite this evidence, the prosecutors disputed the findings, suggesting that the hairs were unrelated to the crime and that the cellular material could have come from sweat or drool left over by the recovery team. It's shocking that the prosecutors were so stubborn, even in the face of such clear evidence. Harold and Young were eventually released from prison, but tragedy struck when Young was killed in a hit and run incident. Hill, however, filed a complaint against the city of Chicago, the police, and the two detectives involved in the case, accusing them of forcing a confession and violating his civil rights. The case was settled for $1.25 million, with Hill receiving $500,000 and the rest going to attorney's fees. It's surprising that the detectives were only asked to pay a measly $7,500 each for their part in this whole debacle. Do you think that is bad? Wait till you hear this. It's also worth noting that Hill was later convicted again for an unrelated armed robbery charge and is currently serving 27 years in prison. But despite this, it's clear that the justice system failed Harold Hill in the past. This case highlights the importance of reforming our justice system to ensure that wrongful convictions don't occur, and that those who abuse their power are held accountable. The case of Harold Hill is a tragedy of errors, starting from the investigation to the trial and subsequent conviction. Being wrongfully imprisoned for 13 years, Hill was not awarded a chance to conform to life outside because he was turned into a criminal by the system. The system absolutely messed the hell out of him, and the cops only paid $7,500 each. When cops do what they did, they need to be locked away for at least as long as the victims they put in jail. What do you think of these cases? Which do you think is most unfair? Sound off in the comments below and make sure to let us know if we missed out on anything. While you are at it, make sure to hit that subscribe and leave a like to never miss an update from us.
Hey, what the Hey! Go!
On February 12, 2023, Officer Kyle Howe of the Toledo Police Department detained and physically assaulted a couple without any apparent justification. Officer Howe spotted a speeding vehicle on the highway and pursued it with his emergency lights activated. After pulling over the driver, Mr. Romero, Officer Howe alleged that he was driving above the legal speed limit.
Good evening. What's the hurry tonight?
Nothing. I just picked up my girlfriend from work.
Okay. Do you know how fast you were going?
75 maybe.
Okay. I do have 77. You got your driver's license, insurance?
I do.
Despite Mr. Romero's compliance in providing his identification, Officer Howe also requested the passenger's ID, although it was not legally required.
Okay, does she have an ID?
She does. She
Can
might
you
not.
use my
This is my side.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, you
I
don't.
just picked her up from work.
Yeah.
Officer Howe asked Mr. Romero to step out of the vehicle, and he complied. Officer Howe noticed something fall out of the vehicle as Mr. Romero stepped out, and he proceeded to handcuff him, claiming it was drug paraphernalia. Officer Howe informed Mr. Romero that he was being detained, not arrested, and asked him about his marijuana use.
What's that, partner?
I'm not sure what happened.
Okay. I'm gonna just have you turn and put your hands behind your back for me, okay?
Oh, really?
Yeah. .45, 1 detained. Alright. That comfortable for you or not?
The laws surrounding marijuana use in Ohio are complex, but possessing less than 100 grams is considered a minor misdemeanor. Officer Howe then requested Mr. Romero to undergo a field sobriety test, which he willingly agreed to. However, Officer Howe then arrested Mr. Romero for driving with a barred license, indicating that his license had been previously suspended. The situation escalated when Officer Howe aggressively grabbed Mr. Romero, slammed him onto the patrol vehicle's hood, and threw him to the ground despite no signs of resistance. And then another officer arrived and unlawfully arrested the passenger, Miss Jasmine. Dash cam footage captured Officer Howe's use of excessive force and false accusations against Mr. Romero. Despite Mr. Romero's retaliation against the unjust treatment, Officer Howe continued to assault him.
Stop! Pussy! Stop! Baby, please stop! Babe, please! Why are you pulling on me like that?
Miss Jasmine's arrest was also unjustified as she had not engaged in any wrongdoing. Both Mr. Romero and Miss Jasmine were ultimately arrested, but it is important to note that their violations of the law did not excuse the mistreatment they endured.
Pulling away from me and trying to kick me as it is.
Why the did you hit me and slam me on the ground that many times?
Following an investigation into another incident involving Officer Howe, he resigned from the Toledo Police Department. The incident highlights concerns about the excessive use of force and the violation of individuals' rights during law enforcement encounters. In another incident, a driver who had committed no wrongdoing and violated no laws was pulled over by an officer who falsely claimed that the vehicle's tag was expired. The officer's true intentions became evident when he asked a question unrelated to the traffic stop, implying potential phone use while driving.
And another question, you just turned that on, right? Like, you didn't have that while you were driving?
No, I just turned it on, yeah.
Despite the driver providing the necessary documents, the officer insisted that the expired tag was the driver's responsibility and proceeded to issue a ticket.
Because it seems like a while, if the validation tag expired in December.
The driver repeatedly explained that the vehicle was a rental and that the responsibility for the tag's validity rested with the rental company.
Well, you call Enterprise. That's not my car. I don't know why you pulled me over.
However, the officer remained ignorant and refused to acknowledge the driver's explanation. To confirm his innocence, the driver requested permission to inspect the license plate himself, which revealed that the officer's allegations were entirely false. In a revealing moment, the officer admitted to running the license plate before initiating the traffic stop, indicating possible racial profiling.
That's
Enterprise.
Enterprise.
You're the driver.
No, that's not a problem. You call Enterprise.
You're the driver.
This admission exposed the officer's misconduct and further highlighted the unjust treatment faced by the driver. The incident exemplifies the officer's disregard for the truth and raises concerns about potential bias and abuse of power within law enforcement.
I see you tell me the plate is expired. Can I go see it? That's your mistake.
That is my mistake.
Did you see because it's a black person? Look how much. That's not
I didn't even see who was driving the car. Look at the plates here.
Moving on to the next incident, a family was peacefully enjoying their time at a park when two police officers approached them without any apparent reason.
Hi.
What's up, guys?
The man recording the encounter immediately exercised his rights and requested the officers to identify themselves, which they complied with by providing their names and badge number.
How's it going? Who are you guys? Can you identify yourself, please?
When asked why they approached the family, the officers claimed that the family was yelling and screaming, an allegation that holds no legal significance, especially considering they were in a public park.
Please. And you, sir? Oh.
The family members calmly informed the officers that they were simply conversing and having a good time, emphasizing that their actions were not disrupting anyone else. However, the officers altered their allegations, now accusing the family of using profanity loudly, despite the fact that such behavior is not illegal.
I guess it was just yelling and screaming.
In response, the man recording the incident asserted his right to use profanity whenever he chose to do so, recognizing that the officers had no valid reason for approaching them.
But we're just here enjoying ourselves right now.
The family members started to dismiss their presence. They indicated that they would pretend as if the officers were not even there.
So, my understanding, there's some cussing going on here.
I cuss, yeah.
Kids here,
Yep.
obviously, they cuss.
They're playing over in the playground. Yeah, of course I cuss. I cuss anytime I want to cuss. So if you don't like it, like they don't like to hear what you want to say, then, I mean, you don't have to be here.
Just as it seemed the officers would finally leave the family alone, another police officer arrived on the scene, prolonging their presence. The family members, realizing the officers' persistence in unnecessary drama, firmly requested them to vacate their space and leave them in peace. Although the officers seemed dissatisfied with the lack of disturbance from the family, they eventually departed, realizing their attempts to provoke a reaction had been unsuccessful.
Oh no, I'm talking to my people right now. There's another one coming up right now.